Hi, my name is Blake Crooks, and I'm a postmaster's counselor at Appalachian State University Counseling and Psychological Services. And today I'll be talking with you about anxiety, which is part of our Anxiety Toolbox workshop series. Today is session 1 out of 3, and we'll be talking about an introduction to stress and anxiety, identifying symptoms and triggers, as well as exploring 2 coping strategies that can be useful in managing anxiety. As part of our informed consent process, it's important to note that the quick access virtual workshops are intended to be psychoeducational in nature, and they are not designed to provide mental health treatment or emergency response. We encourage you to visit our website at counseling.appstate.edu or call us at 828-262-3180 to learn more about the mental health treatment options we are offering students currently. If you are experiencing a mental health emergency, such as active thoughts of suicide, please visit our website to read about emergency resources or call your local emergency responders. Resources may differ based on your location. Since this video is a recording, feel free to pause at any point in time. We encourage you to take notes along the way if that could be helpful for you, whether by pen and paper, phone, laptop, whatever works for you. So as we're talking about anxiety, it can be helpful to know that anxiety shows up for each person differently. That means that there are different ways that each person finds helpful in managing their anxiety. So through the workshop, we will be presenting general ideas about anxiety. So feel free to take from that what you find to be true for you and helpful for you. As a foundation for how we talk about anxiety, we'll be using the cognitive model. This uses the idea that how we think determines how we feel and behave. Thus, our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are related to each other. So for example, let's say that a friend has canceled plans at the last minute, and you find yourself thinking, wow, what a jerk. You could be feeling some emotions related to anger or feeling hurt. This could lead you into feeling a text that is angry. If we had the same situation, but we had the thought that, okay, maybe they have something important going on, and this likely has nothing to do with our relationship, you might still find yourself feeling sad due to plans being canceled, but you might also feel more understanding and compassionate towards your friend. So this could lead to sending back a more neutral text. So as you can see, the way we perceive situations can influence how we feel and how we behave. So moving forward, it can be helpful to dispel some myths about stress and anxiety. So stress is our body's reaction to a trigger. It's generally short-term in nature. Sometimes it can be helpful, and sometimes it can be unhelpful, depending on how much stress there is. Anxiety is more closely related to an emotion and can be a result of stress. Anxiety concerns are common. Around 1 in 5 Americans will experience some type of anxiety disorder in their life. Although anxiety is unpleasant and not fun to experience, that does not automatically make it bad. Anxiety can be part of a healthy and adaptive response to situations in our life, just as unpleasant emotions such as sadness, fear, and anger are adaptive responses to things that we experience in life. So part of anxiety management is bringing our anxiety levels back to a place where it feels more manageable, so that we can understand how it could be used in an adaptive way. Anxiety can often lead people to avoiding situations that make them anxious or feel stressed out. This avoidance often reinforces the cycle of anxiety. So part of anxiety management is learning how to cope with those symptoms so that you can better manage the anxiety and continue to do the things that feel important to you. during our lives, we may experience anxiety on and off, but anxiety is one of the more treatable mental health concerns. So just know that wanting it with some acceptance that it can be a part of your life, and it can also be treatable. If you are experiencing anxiety, therapy can be one option out of many that can be helpful in managing anxiety. Therapy is not needed in order to see any improvements, though. There are many other ways to support yourself in managing anxiety. Self-help resources, exercising, deep breathing, spending time with others are all ways to practice self-care as part of anxiety management. Therapy, again, is just one option that's available. So in terms of symptoms of stress and anxiety, this is a general list. Feel free to pause the video to reflect on this list. You may notice that there are symptoms that you experience that are not listed. So please just take a moment to reflect on how you specifically experience stress and anxiety. What are the things that you notice when you're feeling anxious? And with this knowledge, we are able to identify when we're feeling anxious so that we're able to then practice coping strategies. So we're using this awareness as insight and power in our management of anxiety. Moving forward in terms of triggers of stress and anxiety, each person may have their own specific triggers for anxiety. And so again, just building your awareness for how you experience anxiety can be helpful in part of the management of anxiety. So knowing what are the specific things that most often contribute or influence your anxiety. And moving forward, it can be helpful to categorize those triggers into internal versus external stimuli. So internal stimuli are things that are happening within you. This can be emotions, mental images, physical states. And then external stimuli are things that are happening outside you. So the presence of others, physical settings, social pressure, and activities. So with this awareness, it can be helpful to notice if there are certain categories of triggers that you experience more than others. For some folks, it may be that they experience more internal stimuli rather than external stimuli. Some may experience thoughts as being triggers more so than other stimuli. Where other people might have a balanced combination of these stimuli. So again, we're just taking a moment to reflect, to expand your awareness into your experience of anxiety. So many of us in our lives have probably heard someone tell us to just breathe. It'll be okay. Calm down. And that's not what we're here to do. But we will be talking about how diaphragmatic breathing can be helpful as part of the management of anxiety. Research shows that when we're able to slow our body down, it helps us to slow our mind down as well. So diaphragmatic breathing is a way to help us slow down to get through a tough situation. Some things to be aware of that can be helpful in practicing this is that the speed of the breath is more important than the depth of the breath. This is not used to get rid of anxiety, but rather to help you move through it. And again, with most things, practice makes perfect. So if you're able to practice, we are going to go through a few steps of diaphragmatic breathing. And feel free to pause this at any point in time so that you can continue practicing, or feel free to move forward with the presentation. If you're going to practice diaphragmatic breathing, find a place to sit comfortably or lie down, whether it's sitting in a chair with your feet on the floor or sitting on the floor, whatever feels comfortable for you. And just place your hands above your diaphragm and just notice your breathing. Not doing anything to change it, just breathing in. And if you notice your breath coming from your chest or your shoulders, simply shift to focusing your breath as it comes from your diaphragm. Noticing as you breathe in, your diaphragm expands. And as you breathe out, your diaphragm contracts. So with your hands on your diaphragm, they should be moving up as you're breathing in, as if you were filling up a balloon. Then as you're breathing out, your hands will move back down. And so as you're noticing this rhythm of expanding and contracting, we're going to slow our breath down to the count of 5. So we're going to breathe in for 5 seconds, and we're going to exhale for 5 seconds. So as you're breathing in, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And as you're breathing out, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And continue breathing. And as you're breathing, we're going to add a hold for 2 to 3 seconds after your exhale before inhaling again. So as you inhale to the count of 5, exhale to the count of 5, and slowly hold it for 2 to 3 seconds before inhaling again. Just continuing to slow this process down. And if you notice that counting to 5 is too much, simply move to counting to 4. Or if counting feels too distracting, just focus on being able to slow down your breath. Remember, the speed of the breath is more important than the depth of it. So just being able to slow your breath down however you can. And then if you're ready, bring your attention back to the present moment. And if you're interested, you can pause the video to continue practicing breathing. But again, this is just an introduction to how to practice diaphragmatic breathing. Again, what to take away from this is that it's important to slow your breath down, focus on breathing from your diaphragm, to practice, and to use this as a way to help yourself through anxiety. We will come back to this exercise later on as we incorporate a new technique into it. Again, breathing exercises can look different for each person, so find a way that works for you. There are apps and online resources that can help you learn different ways of practicing this that might work for you. Moving forward, we're going to be talking about mindfulness. So the goal is to be able to describe our experiences objectively and non-judgmentally. By doing so, it lessens the power that our thoughts and emotions have. So instead of being overwhelmed by our thoughts and emotions, we're able to simply notice them for what they are, just being thoughts and emotions, and view them in an objective and non-judgmental way. So one way to practice this, if you're paying attention to the presentation, there's an image on the screen that we'll be using. If you want to use something that is in the room with you, that you're able to observe, whether it's through visual or auditory or texture, whatever sensory experience works well for you. We're just going to be practicing some observation on things that we notice about this object. So to get started, we're just going to describe what we see in objective terms. What we see, hear, feel, touch, whatever works well for you. So just noticing what you can objectively, what the facts are about this. This could be colors, sounds, shapes, size, shades, tones, textures, whatever objective information you can notice about this. When you have reached a point of being able to describe this objectively, we're going to transition into describing it in a more subjective way. So noticing the thoughts and memories that come up for you when you are observing this object. Allowing your mind to wander as it will, and just taking note of whatever pops into your mind as it comes up. When you're ready, just take a step back and kind of reflect on the difference between those two parts of this exercise and how each part felt different from the other. So objective was more so focused on the facts, whereas subjective, there was more room for your mind to wander. Mindfulness can be used in this way to guide us into focusing on the present moment in an objective and non-judgmental way, rather than being distracted by our thoughts and emotions that might be coming up in the moment. This is just one way to practice mindfulness, and mindfulness can be practiced in many different ways. And I encourage you to check out online resources and books and videos that are related to mindfulness in order to continue helping yourself understand this practice and how it can be applied as part of anxiety management. By using both of these skills, we can practice a mindful breathing exercise. So feel free to join if you're able to, and feel free to skip past this exercise if you're disinterested. But we'll be practicing some mindful breathing, similar to what we did with the diaphragmatic exercise. So find a place to sit quietly, whatever position feels good for you, and just relax your body. And just begin with some slow diaphragmatic breathing, as we talked about earlier. Focusing your mind on your breath as it flows in and out of your nostrils. Just continue to follow your breath to whatever extent you can. As you breathe, just notice the tendency of your mind to wander. Instead of trying to focus just on the breath, just notice what the mind does. It may wander to a worry or a memory, or maybe what you have planned to do later today. You may notice sensations in your body, such as pain or itching. You may notice sounds or smells. Just notice whatever happens when you're able to gently bring yourself back to your breath in this moment. You can remind yourself that you will tend to these other things later. And for now, you'll just be spending time paying attention to your breath, to your mind. Allowing the mind to wander as it will, time after time. Just avoid the tendency to try too hard to focus on something. And simply allow your mind to wander. And then bring yourself back to your breath when you notice that. Just notice the tendency of your experience to change. Imagine that each thought, sensation, emotion, whatever it is just a cloud floating through the sky, soon to be replaced by another experience. Remember that there is no right or wrong way to do this, other than to just notice whatever comes into your consciousness. It's impossible to fail at mindfulness. Just let your mind wander, and as you notice it wandering, bring your attention back to your breath. Noticing the expanding and contracting of your diaphragm, the steadiness of your breath as it anchors you to this present moment. Whenever you're ready, bring your attention back to the room. If you've had your eyes closed, feel free to open them again. Maybe do some stretching. Just kind of returning back to this moment. And do a small check-in with yourself, noticing how you're feeling in this moment. This exercise can be practiced for however long. We encourage giving yourself 5 to 10 minutes. Depending on your schedule, you can add time to this. You can practice this once or twice a day, several times a week, whatever works well for you. And that will conclude our Anxiety Toolbox workshop, session 1. Our next session will be focused on challenging unhelpful thinking styles. And we'll be talking a little bit more about mindfulness and how it can be used in part of anxiety management. Thank you for joining us, and feel free to check out our website or give us a call if you have questions or need additional support.